two are, I think, everyone's top two. Number two, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which they have an argument that they're number one. I don't think you get – I'd really like to see Devontae Smith as the number one receiver in an offense, and you might get to see it at some point because I don't know if A.J. Brown's going to be a lifelong Eagle the rest of the way. But they complement each other well, and then obviously the number one is Chase and Higgins, where we thought we were done with them as a duo because we didn't think the Bengals were going to be able to keep them both. They were, and I mean, to me, the proof is in the pudding as far as what they've been able to produce.
Okay. Let's talk about this. In 2021, Devontae was the number one receiver, and it was Jalen Hurts' first year as a starter, first year like actually playing quarterback, and they went to the playoffs. Devontae looked great. I'm not going to act like he lit the league on fire. Jalen Hurts was working through it. Nick Sirianni was working through it. I mean, you had a lot of new things going on there, quite frankly. It wasn't the most balanced of an offense. They were caught off guard because they thought they were going to have Carson Wentz there, but then Carson Wentz obviously demanded, that he wanted out. Nick Sirianni was originally the play caller and had a big part of game planning for the offense and play calling, and then things radically changed as soon as Shane Steichen took over full time, and then that offense really got hot. And then obviously the following year they then went and had A.J. Brown, but Devontae has absolutely balled, and in games when A.J. is not really existent, either because he was injured or because of just I don't know, whatever it may be, taken out of the game or just not targeted, and not because he's being double teamed or this or that, and you have Devontae rise to the occasion. So make no mistake about it, Devontae is special, which is what to me elevates this duo. I don't really care about ranking this. I'm only doing this just for fun. I know some Eagles fans are going to be like, what the heck? AJ and Devontae should be number one. They won the Super Bowl, all that. I honestly actually don't care. And I really mean that truly. It just, I when I saw this even clip, I was like, do I really feel like doing this? And I'm like, it's interesting to kind of just look at these duos and look at these, and see how they are. Tyreek Hill and Waddle, he's got them at number 4. And I'm kind of and sorry, Eagles fans, but I'm kind of I think I would elevate CD and Pickens, just because of, if we're looking at this on a pure talent basis and what I believe they'll be able to achieve necessarily. I'm no longer really 100% convinced of Tyreek Hill. I don't know if he's going to be able to even stay on the field, I'll be honest with you. I get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I mean, they were pretty electric. That's undeniable. But AJ and Devontae have they have a significantly more balanced offense, and they have a different quarterback. They have Saquon Barkley. So it's just going to be different, especially if we look at it in a vacuum, where we said every single duo has Joe Burrow as their quarterback, right? It's just completely neutralized. They have a good run game, but not a dominant run game. They're getting decent production, but it's obviously not the foundation. And you have a decent enough O-line. Show me who these wide receiver duos are. And I'm just not so sure that I would put A.J. Brown and Devontae below anyone. At this point, that I would do a tier system. And if we want to say Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are still number 1, well, at the top tier, but then I'm like, well, then you got to put in A.J. and Devontae. And A.J. has pretty much talked about this, not as directly as some people believe, but, pretty much we need to pass more because, we know what they're capable of doing. They just don't, because they care more about winning. And I don't know if you guys know this, but it worked, and they won the Super Bowl. So it's just different. It's so much of it is different styles and a different emphasis. But if you really look at the skill set and the talent of what these duos have, I mean, you're not watching AJ and Devontae and seeing any limitations. Any limitation. The only limitation that they have is that the offense does not live and die by them. It's not 100% through them. You can say that about the Dolphins. You can say that about the Vikings. You can say that about the Bengals. You could say that for the most part about the Bucks. The Commanders less so, And the Cowboys, I mean, we've never seen CD and Pickens, and we've never seen McLaurin and Debo together, to be fair, as well. So, which is why it's also kind of tough to see Puka Nacua and Devontae, McLaurin and Debo, and CD and Pickens, because we haven't actually seen them together. But and it's actually pretty interesting because with Devontae and AJ, when you actually round out their numbers, because they both missed like 4 games or so because of injuries and also then just sitting in that final game of the season, they missed out on a couple things. One, they obviously missed out on games, and all the top receivers in receiving yards and whatnot, like you can see, are receiving yards. I mean, they all play, 17 games, 17 games, 17 games, 17 games, 17 games, 17 games. So when you equalize that for Devontae and AJ Brown, I mean, they skyrocket to the top. Same thing for touchdowns as well, for total, for receiving touchdowns. They also go up until top 10, top 5. And that is around an offense that is not even centered around them, right? We do know that this was more of a run-first team. Nobody could dispute that. And so the sheer fact that they still would have had 2,000-yard receivers and 2 receivers who are going to have 10-plus touchdowns each, and they even missed a bunch of those freebie, I'm going to just ball out, like they're playing the New York Giants. Like, that's one of those games that really just boosts everyone's stats, right? When AJ Brown, Devontae, and Saquon get to play the New York Giants on the final game of the season, like, that's one of those games where everyone just feasts. It boosts the bottom line, like just add an extra touchdown, add an extra 50 yards on your body. Like that's how this happens, right? Like that's how that often works. And so not only did they just miss games, but then they even missed some of those, like, oh, we're about to feast in this game, right? We're about to hang 45. And so it's even larger than that, quite frankly. And when you see how this offense is run, it's more mind-blowing than I think people actually realize. And I've used that argument before to be like, you're downplaying what Jalen Hurts can do, and yet he was going to, again, without injuries, he would have had 2,000-yard receivers, all of these passing touchdowns, etc., and yet you're saying that this passing game is not that important, and yet look what his receivers have accomplished. What more do you want? Do you want him to have 2,000-yard receivers? Do you want AJ to have 15 touchdowns and Devontae to have 12 touchdowns? What are we doing here? So to me, it just shows you how deadly the passing, or depending on what angle we're looking at this, the passing or the receiving attack was, even though it was not a foundational component. But when it was called upon, when it was needed, it was electric. And so there is to be, you can say, well, listen, shouldn't you get more credit for having to do more work? And I think that's fair. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase had to do more work than AJ and Devontae, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're the better duo. They're relied on more, and I think that's okay to admit, but it's like, let's not pretend like AJ and Devontae wouldn't be able to do that. Like, of course they would, right? Their game's not limited because they have to find a way to limit it. It's just like, the Eagles built a team and a game plan and a plan of attack that won a Super Bowl. If they came up short, if they didn't make the playoffs, then I could understand, right? If they lost, in the divisional round, then I could understand. But like, they won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. AJ Brown and Devontae balled in that Super Bowl. Did they technically Xavier Worthy had more receiving yards and whatnot, and people tried to act like that was, but like, when you actually look at the passes that were thrown their way, the catches that were made, when they were made, the importance of the moment, guys, it just doesn't get bigger and louder than that. And in the Super Bowl, Jamar Chase, 75.8 for their PFF's reception ranking, and T. Higgins 67.3. And for the Eagles, I mean, which Super Bowl do you want to use here? Because in the first Super Bowl, AJ 79.5, Devontae 67.2, 100 yards, 96 yards. And then in the most recent Super Bowl, the one that they obviously won, you had Devontae at 71.6, AJ Brown 70.2. 6.8. So if we're going to use big games and big game moments and that mattering, I mean, should that not? I mean, like we talk about it with quarterbacks and playoff stuff like that. And then, what is Justin Jefferson and Addison and again, some of these are tough because we've never seen Puka and Devontae together, or McLaurin and Debo. We saw Evan and Godwin, obviously. We haven't seen CD and Pickens, but we've seen AJ and Devontae. We saw them ball out in Super Bowls. We saw them come up big, saw them make big catches, have big moments. And again, it's not to act like Chase or T. Higgins didn't have great games or have their moments either. But I don't know. Like I said, if we're gonna talk about certain players needing to play big in the playoffs and truly stepping up, you have AJ and Devontae doing it in 2 Super Bowls. That does mean something, man. It's gotta mean something, and it can't just mean something for quarterbacks. If it means something for quarterbacks, and it means something for wide receivers, should it be weighted more for quarterbacks because they have the ball in their hand every single snap? Yes, it should, right? And you can be an amazing wide receiver, and your quarterback could be trash or just have an awful game in the Super Bowl, and now you don't have a big game. There you go, right? You're done. I get that. I do. But you had 2 Super Bowls, and they shined in both of them. Truly shined in both of them. It's got to mean something. That's got to mean something when you're ranking top duos. They're the only duo that we've seen in multiple Super Bowls. That means something to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about AJ and Devontae being the number 2 in the top wide receiver duos according to Nick? Let me know your thoughts below. So I'm thinking about breaking down some of these other duos, but again, the most interesting duos to me right now, they haven't been there. They're just not together right now. And I feel if JJ and Addison won a Super Bowl, balled out in the divisional, in the NFC Championship game or something, I, I'd have more interest in breaking them down. Tyreek and Waddle, I just don't care. I'm going to be totally honest. I think they're a great duo. It's fun and interesting, but again, I'm talking about AJ and Devontae because they won the Super Bowl, or they went to multiple Super Bowls. If they lost, if they got knocked out in the divisional round, I probably would not be making this video. I would just probably make a video about all of them together rather than individual, but I'm just kind of this duo won the Super Bowl. It seems like we should talk about it. If Chase and Higgins won the Super Bowl, it'd be different. Puka and Devontae, it'd be different. And again, I get Evans and Godwin, but different quarterback, different offense. It's a different team now, so it feels different to me. It's different when you got Tom Brady thrown to you, okay? I think that's totally fair to admit. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.